This week, a little something different. I'm not going to be using my X-Acto knife very much, if at all, and relying heavily on my scissors to get my ephemera. And the reason being is I'm going into a geometric version of collage and keeping it simple, but it should have an interesting effect anyway. Again, I have been inspired by a fellow YouTube collage artist, Mia Bloom. I'll put a link to her collage video in the description because I saw it just this morning and I was so inspired by it. It has a real feeling of Kandinsky, his paintings. If you're familiar with those, take a look at those. Google Kandinsky if you're not familiar with his painting. But what we're going to do is just make things geometric. And that's why I'm just going to be using my scissors so I can focus on that. Now, Mia Bloom makes her own collage paper. She also utilizes found papers like magazine and mailer stuff as well. But, and she also uses security envelopes. The patterns on pack of security envelopes are really amazing, and I have yet to use that, and I don't have any handy right now, but I get bills, so there will be some for me in the future, and you will see them in these videos. So what I found amazing about Mia's work in this particular video that inspired this project was the use of the background. She creates the background with acrylic paints and jelly printing, which I don't do, but I thought, wow, when you work from the background up, when the background in essence is the focal point, what is going to be inspired by that? So I don't have a background just yet, but what I want to focus on is just shape. So instead of saying that I will cut out precisely this table, I'm just going to think about geometrics. I'm going to think about anything that I can see on here that is geometric. Straight line, nothing really curvy. I'm just going to go for these squares, triangles, maybe some circles, and focus on that and see what I come up with. So it is the feeling of collecting the ephemera, seeing what I can come up with, and then it becomes something unrecognizable from what it had been before. In Mia's video, she uses the asphalt on Michael Kors ad, the sidewalk, not even the focal point, but just the sidewalk, or rather the asphalt on the street, and it had this wonderful geometric pattern going on. So she uses it, and it just I've done that kind of stuff before myself, but I was stunned by it. So looking at this piece of paper, this magazine, I'm totally drawn to this, and I've done this before where I cut something out precisely. And that's fine to do with this project, but I want to stay as geometric as possible. So I don't really want to cut anything out exactly as it is. I want to have that geometric feel. So again, we are creating a new environment by cutting out elements that are, again, geometric. I keep repeating myself. And maybe I'm not going to cut out the exact building. I'm just going to cut out a square to show just that design. So that's why I'm not using my X-Acto knife. I'm using the scissors, and I'm keeping things very, very simple. And I'm being kind of rudimentary now and still in that thinking process, loving the color. I'm always drawn to blues and purples. I don't know if I'm going to be using these. The other thing about this project is your palette. See, here I really am just, oh my gosh, purple. I can't resist. Don't know if I'll use purple for the project though. So I'm just going to cut it out and set it off to the side. Not cutting out anything specific, just squares, maybe some circles, and maybe something very linear and simple like that, putting them off to the side. But when I get to something like this is where I want to get rid of the sky, that beautiful sky, and all I want is the building. And hopefully what I achieve for myself and for my viewer is something that is brand new and maybe not even recognizable as a building, especially if I take artistic license and it's supposed to go like this, but then I put it like this. Is it a building or is it just a square? Is it a design? And maybe I want to take it down even further and remove this. And I have something that's brand new. There's still a little bit of sky there, and I'm being very, very picky. I'll put that off to the side also. This also can be a possibility for the collage. But what I want to consider is, what will my background be? I talked about the focal point. What's the focal point going to be? The focal point will be whatever abstract design is that I create using these building blocks. I'm right now staying with squares, parallelograms. I will throw in a circle here or two just because circles are so nice. But I'm going to start going through some of this. Cut this out earlier, it was from a graph. And just keeping things geometric for this video. Looking at something like this, I might ask myself, where do I see shape? Where am I going to grab my squares here? I am looking at this facade. That's all I want to concentrate on. I'm going to give it a nice straight cut. Cut right there. I do like this little bowl of fruit, but not for this video. Too biomorphic, too nice and circly. We're going to set that off to the side. I will use it in another collage. Just focusing on geometrics here. And let's see how this comes out. So when I look at these magazine pictures, I am searching for straight lines. I am searching for shape. And I'm going to make something as abstract as possible. Okay. And that also includes, like I said before, circles. We can totally use circles. Circles count as geometrics. I will allow it. But I can also do something like this. I'm going to use these baubles. But when I look at geometrics, a picture, a square picture, can count as a geometric. I can cut it here or just leave it like this because we are looking at the square. I'm not sure if I want to have too many specific pictures in this collage. I really want to keep things as geometric as possible. So still searching. Like, for example, when I was hunting through my magazines, I found these wonderful images. I won't be using these exact images because they are little masks, they are faces. I'm not going to use them. I'm not going to use a model and cut out the lips and the eyes. I'm going to save those for another project. I'm just keeping everything kind of on the man-made side, although nature does offer us some geometrics. The moon, for example, is very geometric. So I'm looking at this architecture. The architecture magazines really came in handy when I was searching for ephemera for this project. And I don't want to look at it at this picture and go, oh, it's just cabinetry. It's just a boring kitchen. I want to look at something like this because to me now this may not be so boring when paired up with something like this, because now this offers an interesting background for what this was. I believe it was a building. It wasn't that long ago that I cut it. I had this wonderful real estate magazine. In fact, I think this is it right here. And it has beautiful architecture pictures of New York, Long Island, Montauk, Miami, Colorado. Wonderful feats of architectural beauty. And I got a lot of my imagery from this one magazine. So, continue on here. Looking at something like this picture, there's a lot of geometrics going on. And sometimes geometrics that maybe you wouldn't notice otherwise if you weren't feeling sensitive towards it. We are drawn to a focal point here. The focal point is geometric. It's this arch. At least that's the focal point it is to me. It's not the little plants, and it's not this deck board that I am cutting. But this can become something geometric for a possible collage. I'm not sure, again, I'm just thinking out loud here about what I'm going to do next, but I'm just going to cut up anything right now to me that is reminiscent of geometrics. So from this one page, I'm going to cut out this. I am going to cut out this little table because it is it's circular. And I'm going to cut out this arch as well. I'm not sure if the arch is going to work, but the arch is also geometric. Let's just go ahead and cut it out right now. I'm not sure if it'll work. And I'm not using that X-Acto knife, so I'm not concerned with cutting out the little spaces in between, tucking things in. I'm probably not going to be doing anything like that in this video, but the video is young right now. I'm not sure. I can always change my mind, and next thing you know, there's bodies and hands and eyes and everything else. But right now, inspired by geometrics, so I am going to cut out this little table because it's a circle. I do still love my circles. Triangles are also a possibility because when you look at, say, the plank that I just cut out, maybe I want to keep that as a triangle. Something like this. No, I just have a simple triangle. Came from this board. This is also geometric. I don't know what you would call the shape. I didn't do well in geometry. I don't even think I took geometry. Shame on me. But it could be a shape or just, a fun geometric shape that doesn't really have a name. I invent something new. And here we have our circle, and then we have our arch. I don't know if the arch is going to work for me, actually. And that was the focal point of that picture. And now I'm not sure I'm really feeling it, so I'll keep it, but going to put it off to the side, and I'm going to keep on cutting here. Aside from architectural magazines, there are other areas to find geometrics. This was a whole book, and there are several pictures that are square in formats, so this counts as geometric. I was also looking at these images, and specifically the insides of these chests. So we just have those geometrics. This is somewhat geometric. They're actually a picture of napkins. Stars are geometric, so think about stars if you'd like. Flowers, not so much. Flowers are more organic. I'm trying to stay away from organic in this project because this is something that I don't normally venture into. I like having flowing biomorphic things in my collages, and this is just taking me into a different arena. Now, the one thing I have not done yet, and I'm starting to think I want to get my background ready. And what am I going to use as a background? I'm not going to make a background. I want to use found paper. I had a lucky find last week at an estate sale. Estate sales are awesome. Go to an estate sale on the last day when they want to clear everything out, because a lot of people do not purchase magazines and books, and you can get them even cheaper than before. So I got this, which was Mi Tiente's pastel paper. This can be a little pricey. It's not unreasonable, but it goes for about, well, this one for $12.35. I got it for a stunning $2. I'm thinking about using one of these sheets for my background and building my collage simply on a nice pastel background. So anyway, that is kind of where I'm headed, and that is what I had in mind when I started on this project. So feeling inspired by these images I got from the old books that I was cutting up earlier. So something like this is inspiring me, and here we have this beautiful orange paper. I'm really drawn to the orange paper, or maybe this lighter paper. The blue is also wonderful because the blue offers a great contrast for anything orange. I'm kind of struggling right now choosing what my background will be. I believe I'm going to go in this direction, using this as my background. So when doing geometrics, I want them to look interesting, but I also need to have contrast, so I can't have too many pieces that have really strong design elements on them. I may need to rely on imagery that isn't as stunning as these little pieces are, or I can throw in maybe something that is just a flat base to contrast off of it. So I'm going to just cut this square out just to show you what I'm talking about. So I'll have this balance off of this, and that's a possibility. I also want to think about size. Size is also an element of composition where it offers great contrast. So everything here, it's interesting, but the problem is they're all similar in size. I have to be careful of that when I start building my collage, because it may not be very interesting if everything is the same size, or maybe it will be. Still collecting, still thinking, still wondering what I'm going up against. I am starting to feel the orange here. There's a lot of orange going on, which means I might want to use a blue background. Let me do some more cutting, and we'll figure out where we head with this. Again, here, this floor is not a focal point, but I love the design on it. All I want is this dark floor, and I'm going to carefully cut it out. I even like the shape of the shape. So there's a lot of possibilities here. I like this too, though. I don't think I'm going to use it. In fact, I'm just going to cut it out. This is what I want. Make it even more geometric. So here we have something like this. This is along the lines of what I'm thinking about. And now we are venturing into color contrast and also shape contrast and size contrast. So something like this. You don't want to have a bunch of these, but you can, but it might be more interesting if you change it up a little bit. So this is working out. I still have a little bit here. I may want to keep this if I want to repeat the color within the composition. I'm going to hang on to that. Do I want this? Not sure. Going into the possibly toss pile. And this, there's nothing more for me here. So this will get recycled. I mean, if I want, I could probably use, yeah, you could use this. You know what, why not? It is familiar. We've all been in spaces like this. It might be interesting, might prove to be interesting. I'm just going to cut it out just to be on the safe side and give myself options, because once I toss it, then it's just hard to go through my waste paper basket. Okay, this might be interesting, and you can see the little exit sign. So it's now a shape, it's a ceiling, and there is geometrics going on, pattern going on. So geometrics and patterns, that's what I'm focused on, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm not sure if I have all of the ephemera that I'm going to use. I may still go hunting a little bit more, but I am beginning to feel the palette forming. So I'm putting colors, light colors together. And I just want to point out also that some of these squares, these geometrics that I cut out, have imagery in them, which may be a default to them becoming a focal point. That's fine, but they're going to stay geometric. I'm not going to cut out this adorable little elephant or anything else specifically. And I, again, am still in that thinking process. But I am concerned that I have a lot of similar pieces that are the same size. So this is where I'm going to look to my scraps for help. I have this really nice dark indigo. Oh, that's a bit redundant. This indigo is dark. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. I'm going to be a little sloppy. I'm not going to keep this white border. I'm just in case I need this. This might be a nice demarcation, if you will, for the collage. I am certainly drawn to the orange feel of the imagery I have. Nice warm feel. Here's another example. That's a little BMW with lots of colors on it. It's great. And I'm not going to cut out the car. I'm going to keep the car in its square box, like this, square. More purple. Yeah. I'm going to think a little bit more in time lapse now. Confession time. This is harder than I thought it was going to be, which is a good thing for me. In the last couple of videos, I've encountered some collage issues that are difficult because I'm working on my comfort zone. And what I'm doing is I'm still trying to return to my comfort zone. I'm looking at this little elephant and making him my focal point, even though I want to stay with everything being geometric. Here also, I grabbed that picture and I am rationalizing that, well, it's a square, so it's geometric, but it's an image and it's what's drawing me. So I'm interested in seeing where we end up here. I don't know, but I'm enjoying it because it is completely different from how I normally operate with collage. So, what I'm actually thinking of doing is several smaller collages because this would be its own composition. This is turning into its own composition, and I like the color of this paper. I think I want to work smaller though. I don't want to do a, I guess this is an 8x10. Actually, it's 9x12 sheet of paper. So I think I want to perhaps cut it into small, manageable bites, like these little pieces are small, manageable bites. And I love the contrast, but it almost feels like it's too much. What I was really thrilled about was the way this wooden piece fit with this just plain color square. And there's a bit of a shadow going on, so it looks like they connect. I don't know if you can see that there, but that's where I'm headed with this. So this side feels more happening than the other side. Still want to work with the geometrics, going to finish it regardless, but I think I'm going to work on a smaller picture plane. I learned a lot about myself working with something that I thought was as simple as geometrics for collage. It's not. At least it's not for me. I attempted it. I actually had a bit of a struggle with it. And in the end, I resorted to what I knew best, which was working with a focal point. So, what I am going to do is work small. Now, that's not something you have to do, but I just cut up that pastel paper into smaller pieces, and I'm going to create 3 small collages out of the geometrics that I did cut out previously. I broke down and I did find little focal points, whereas before I said I want to keep everything geometric and I couldn't help it. In some cases, I had to have a focal point that was specific and cut out. Not for all of them. There's going to be 3 collages I'm going to create in this little set, and I have one that is kind of sort of geometric. But that's how we find our voice. We play with the rules, we bend the rules, we break the rules, and we come up with things that make us up as artists. I think it's really important to pay attention to the foundations of design, the foundations of art. Remember this guy? I might want to use him. Maybe I'll use him. I was just looking at him right now and feeling wistful and wishing. In any case, I'll set him off to the side. Maybe he'll make an appearance. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do each one a time lapse and share with you what my thinking was at the end. I will quickly explain what I am doing here. So we have the orange background. It's going to be for all 3 of these collages, utilizing that beautiful dark purple, a great contrast to that orange background. I have something that's very illustrated and it is still in geometric shape. Plus, the image itself is highly geometric with the circle and the palm trees, hiding it behind just a plain color piece and throwing in the geometrics of these little baubles, the circles. This wooden image has a lovely little shadow. I've shared with you earlier how I want it to kind of coincide with this square of just flat color. And again, coming back with that purple. Here we have our little focal point, our little baby elephant taking a walk. I want him to overlap a touch onto the plain orange background so he stands out. And beneath him, I have imagery that is similar to the ornate design of that illustration also. Threw in another bauble to even things out, and I think what I want to do is just kind of center everything, trim everything down. I also had another piece that matches the little baby elephant. I'm not sure if I want to include it, just to maybe have it to counterbalance this ornate design, maybe over here. It is specific. I said I didn't want to do anything that was organic. I wanted to keep things really geometric, and that was challenging. And I appreciate the challenge, but I know what I know what I like to do, and this is what I ended up doing. And I was inspired to move on into this direction. So geometrics are not easy at all. They look like they're easy, and if something looks like it's easy, chances are it was very hard to do. So for me, it was a bit of a challenge. I enjoyed it. I accept it. And I will be gluing this guy down shortly. I'm going to kind of set him up to the side, and he's going to get skewed a little bit, but we will return to it later. Then there was my second piece that is far more geometric, but it doesn't really have a specific focal point like the baby elephant. Although I could pull in this guy. I'm going to set him off to the side. I might want to do that. Let me construct this really quick and explain to you what I'm doing. This piece is going to be the most geometric of the bunch. I'm going to abandon this. Actually, this was just an image of Halloween napkins. Those are scary eyes, but I love the circular pattern because there's obviously a circular theme going on here, and circles are geometric. But if you know me, you know I love circles, so they're definitely going to make an appearance in a geometric collage that I would do. But again, this is the most geometric of the lot. Obviously, plenty of circles, lots of line, and the focal point is a photo, but it's in a square format, and it has a circle going on. The background of this photograph mimics the background of this circle, also cut out. It was an illustration. This is mimicking the little baby elephant collage, which has nothing to do with this one, but I liked the contrast with the image, with the illustrations, and with the photos. It fit well. I believe it does. And then we have another bauble, like a light of some sort. This guy was a nice square, and I was putting him in this way, but by accident, because that's what happens with collage. When I was playing with it, I accidentally turned it at a slant, and I liked that a lot better, a lot more. This I was concerned about because there was a lot of open space here, and I don't want to fall into that trap of I have to fill it up with everything, so I don't know if it needs that little bauble or not. For now, the bauble is going to stay. I could switch it up maybe and put that bauble there, and maybe this one here, or just take this bauble out altogether or tuck it in somewhere else. And I'm moving it around because nothing's glued on yet. And again, I'm going to come in here and maybe fix that up. Or maybe if I put it at another angle, that's a possibility too. So this is in general what this is looking like. I'm going to build it all up together. The focal point is the photograph and that circle within the photograph. So all in all, in terms of what I wanted to do with geometrics, I think this one is the most successful with the goals that I had in mind. I wanted to throw this guy in, and it's not going to work because for me, there's two focal points they're fighting, and there's just one that's needed. I mean, he's kind of cool. He's definitely going to make his way into a collage, I promise you. Him and the scary eyeball napkins. So this one also is finished, and I am going to move on to the next one. This was the last collage that I did, obviously, and it's also the one that I worked on quickly. I didn't think too much about it. I kind of threw it together. Again, I'm going to trim everything off here. Uh, not sure if there's too much empty space here. What I really like about this one is how the plain wooden planks are juxtaposed with the architectural elements. We have our little focal point, which is the little BMW multicolored vehicle that I mentioned earlier on, and saying you're not going to cut that out. And guess what I did? I did cut it out. And I paired it with actually another busy piece, but for some reason I like the way it looks and I feel that it works well. This yellow and purple geometric slice, came from this image, which I originally had cut out as a square and I was going to use as a geometric, and then this was just a leftover purple piece that I threw in there. Does it need anything here? I don't know. I have some other pieces here that I was going to use. This, that's a possibility. No, it seems a little too busy. I just feel it might need something here. I may have to revisit this later. I just feel there's just a lot of empty space. Here's our eyeballs again, but I think this may be a little too busy because then it's very heavy on this side. And well, maybe this guy. No, I'm kidding. He's not gonna make an appearance in any of these collages. Saving him for something special. I almost want to pull in something else like this, or maybe I'll just leave it alone and we can always finish it later. Just because I say the collage is finished doesn't mean that it has to be finished. Or we adjust things a little bit so it looks more cohesive. Okay, there we go. Yeah, maybe this, possibly. I just moved things up a little bit, maybe. I'll see. I am going to put all of these together off camera, play with them a little bit more, and we'll see if they maintain the compositions that I've created here. I still have a couple more of my little baubles going on, and in a way this is just going to turn into something of a tiny triptych, because they're all kind of related. They were created in the same sitting and with similar ephemera in each one, with the baubles and the beautiful tapestry designs and the dark purple elements. So I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm not sure if they're going to stay the way that I've set them up here. I'm cutting more baubles. I have an idea that I might want to possibly throw this in this way, maybe. Or maybe it just doesn't need anything. It might not need anything. I might be pushing it too hard. Sometimes that empty space feels good. So let's go ahead and I'm going to glue them off camera. We'll show you the final images and see what I decided on. Okay, so there you have it. That is the geometrics of collage, and I couldn't abide to my own rule, which was stay geometric. I had to throw in elements of something organic, something alive that was a focal point. Here we have the little baubles, again imitating that image of the sun, bookended with the purple and, of course, the extraordinary design of the focal point, which is this little baby elephant, and I might call this baby elephant. I fell in love, which is a dangerous thing to do when you're creating, with the way the shadow fell across this swatch of color. I just felt like it belonged there. I felt very proud of it. I was going to great lengths to keep it there. I did. Does it make a difference in the collage? I think so. I like it. So, this one, I deviated from what I wanted to do because I couldn't resist putting in a focal point that was a true focal point, like an animal or a human or anything. Anyway, I like the way it turned out. Then we have the first one I was working on with the little car as the focal point, balanced off with the wood. We have a lot of busy design going on here, which I try to temper down using this dark purple again, similar to the dark purple here. That's why this is going to be something of a triptych, really. They're all related to each other. We have the dark purple and the extraordinary design with different focal points. I also appreciate how the architecture seems to have that feeling of depth and perspective. And again, with the wood, the lines of the wood corresponding hopefully with the architectural elements and the beautiful tapestry that also complements what's going on here. I don't know what I'm going to call this one. Not sure yet. And then the third and final collage, which I think was successful for what I thought I wanted to do with geometrics. Lots of circles. The focal point is simply a photograph, but we have that sun in the middle there and a lot of corresponding circular imagery going on. Bookended by architectural elements. This, as I explained before, fell into place, and this half circle complements the background of the focal point with another half circle. It is, to me, a true geometric collage, even though we have human forms as the focal point. So all in all, I'm pleased. I like them. I think they're cool. And will I explore geometrics again? I think I will, because it took me into a different realm. It forced me to think in a different way because I'm not really analytical. I'm more of I don't know, is it left brain, right brain? I just tend to want to see something. I see something and I want to play with it as a focal point, something that is tangible and something I can relate to. I think I might want them this way. They're all related because there's a lot of similar colors going on. This one doesn't have any of the purple though, but I'm not going to bother to add it. In any case, thanks for joining me this week and bearing with me as we experiment all the different ways that we can collage.